Hey, I'm the Will of DC, a YouTube journalist whose show, YouTube News, is the premier place for news and discussion about anything YouTube related. My point today is that politicians are using social media marketing in all the wrong ways. It seems like the conventional wisdom is that Democrats rule and Republicans drool when it comes to social media, and every time I watch a YouTube video from a big liberal talking big liberal points and Romney's ad plays in front of it, before it, or to the side of it, I just want to scream. But then I see the same thing with liberal Senate candidates' ads playing against videos from birthers or some other crazy opposite demographic. Why are they marketing themselves there? The thing Google is best at is demographics, metrics, and metadata. You can see that these people don't like you and aren't your demographic, so why are you wasting advertising money there? As a YouTuber, I hope they had to pay a crazy CPM for those ads, but being a YouTuber, I know they probably didn't. So it's not like anyone can even make an argument of, oh, let's play those ads because we'll make money off of them. Why do politicians feel the need to market online anyways? No one likes to see political marketing when they're trying to enjoy their day on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or, whatever. Do any of you see anyone using social media marketing correctly? Because I don't. Thanks for talking about my point, and make sure to follow me on Twitter at The Will of DC and subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Will of DC. Thanks, guys.
Will, what are you doing telling people that they're wasting money? No, I love it when Romney wastes money on YouTube. I think that's a fantastic thing. And I love Will. He does great updates on what's happening in YouTube. And I also want to take whatever he's taking before he does the broadcast.
I love
like, that dude's got some, he's got some energy. He's like all wound up and he's like, let me tell you what else is going on. I'm like, man, I thought I had energy. All right. Anyway, so Drew, is he right? Are both sides doing a crappy job online in terms of social media, or is there something to be had here? Can they actually get something?
Okay, first of all, I think Barack Obama kind of ruined it for everyone because he just so dominated in the previous election, and those numbers are still sustaining. I mean, if we take a look, he's got 16 million Twitter followers. He's got 26, almost 27 million Facebook friends, and then what has Romney got? 500,000. Twitter followers, maybe just under 2.
Yeah,
Facebook
sounds like
friends.
a girly man to me. I mean, you want to come in with what kind of weak sauce is 550,000 Twitter followers when you're running up against a dude that's got 16.5 million Twitter followers? But look, in the end though, does it translate into votes?
Well, that's really the question. It's like, you want to target this at people who are going to vote. And I think I take issue with one thing that Will said, is that he says it's these ads don't match up, someone's making a mistake. But I think actually it's really important that when you're watching a Romney video that a Barack Obama ad pops up before, because what they're trying to go after is that small margin that really controls elections, right? Some of these presidential races are so close that you really need to sort of edge out your competition. So what you want to do is, if someone is a Romney fan, diehard, then maybe that's a wasted ad. But if you're a diehard Obama fan and an Obama video runs, that's also a wasted ad. It's that moment where the people are on the fence that you want to try to influence. So I actually think that's pretty strategically.
Well, that makes sense. But on the other hand, Benny, if you're already a Twitter or a Facebook follower of President Obama, you're probably going to vote for him anyway. I mean, voting is in some ways the least you can do. Like, it feels like following him in social media is a larger step in a sense. So it seems like he's just locking up the people who are already voting for him. So is that an issue, or do you think, hey, look, maybe if they've already invested that kind of time, they'll be more likely to vote? I don't know. What's your take on it?
Well, I think that the key with social media is you always need to be engaging your audience, and a factor of matter is when you have so many followers and everything, want to be constantly engaging them. That way, it kind of helps build your brand for the long run. And Obama has done a really, really good job with constantly live streaming, engaging with his fans, and that shows with his election in 2008. I mean, he won 66% of all the young votes under 29.
So, but Meg, is he going to be able to hold that mojo? Because now I know a lot of younger voters are a little disappointed because they were actually looking for change, right? Sure. Like they were hoping that the system changed or something. And so I think that they got a sense that it was something a little grander than what we got.
But I think that's why it's important that he is constantly engaging his Twitter followers, because those are the people who are going to be disenfranchised, who said, I believed in this change and the world is still pretty much the same. So he needs to tweet and say, hey, I know I said that we were going to change and I was right. In this next 4 years, here's what we're going to do. Those are the people who young people aren't necessarily locked up for President Obama. They want to see what he's bringing to the table, and social media is a great way to do that. So we talked about Mitt Romney doesn't have many Facebook fans or Twitter followers, but to be perfectly honest, the people who are on Twitter probably aren't going to be voting for Mitt Romney, and the people who are going to be voting for Mitt Romney don't have Twitters, they don't have Facebook, and they don't care about that as much. It's not as important to them. People who are tech savvy are almost always on Barack Obama's side, but it's important for him to keep re-engaging that audience and saying, look, I know that you feel down, I know that you hear in the media that I let you down, but here's what I did right, and here's what I'm going to continue to do right.
You know, one of my favorite moments in the campaign was when Rick Perry, who was running, of course, current governor of Texas, was running in the campaign. He said, yeah, you can follow me on the Twitter. Okay, that's when you know you're not social media savvy.
Right, well, don't try to be something you're not. I mean,
Right.
if you're not social media savvy,
But do you guys think Meg's right? I mean, I'm always amazed anytime anybody's enthusiastic about Mitt Romney. Like, I saw a shirt the other day on a college campus that had Mitt Romney's face on it. It said Mitt Romney, and I asked the guy, is it ironic? Like, do you really, like, I really didn't know. I was asking an honest question, like, are you making fun of him, or do you actually love Mitt Romney so much you put his face on your chest, right? And he was like, no, it's not ironic. He got mad. But are there all these, like, young people in the country who are like, oh man, Mitt Romney rocks it. I can't wait to see what he's going to say on Facebook.
I think it's less about loving Mitt Romney and more about hating President Obama, because a lot of young people cling to buzzwords that their parents tell them, or they're from the Midwest, I'm from Texas, and hear things like, oh, Obama failed us. And so it's not about Obama being terrible, it's about Obama being evil and not about Mitt Romney being great.
Yeah, that's not bad. Do you ever get motivated like that? Like, you know what? I was rooting for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I'm going to follow the Cowboys on Twitter because I hate them.
I'm not going to follow them on Twitter, but if the Yankees are in the World Series, whoever they're playing, I'm going to cheer for because I hate the Yankees.
But you made an earlier point about the number, like the magnitude of followers for Obama, and I think that's really important, is just to talk about numbers in general. I know we're going to get to that a little bit later in the program, but it can be gamed now. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of gamification going on where you can spend money to give the appearance of having a lot of social media sort of activity,
right?
That becomes a press story in of itself. Right? This idea that the number of followers you have or the number of YouTube subscribers you have is some sort of completely objective number that's a testament to.
But do you think they gamed it? Because I know you can. Like Newt Gingrich, there was a story about how he gamed the system, and it turns out he doesn't have these millions of followers. He paid for it. It's really pathetic, right? And then I remember our own Michael Schur on the Young Turks caught up with Donald Trump in Las Vegas and asked him, hey, why should anybody care who you endorse? And he said, well, I've got a lot of Twitter followers, right? And I was like, whoa, that's your answer, right? And so we had a good time with that. But then under that rubric, well, then Snoop Dogg should be, or Lady Gaga should be the most influential people out there. And are they? I mean, does that? Well, I'm trying to figure out, does it translate to votes at all, do you think?
Yeah, one of the major things that, for me, coming from an internet marketing standpoint, like a lot of people like really talk about, oh yeah, I have this many Twitter followers, I have this and that. But in the end, from a business standpoint, are these numbers going to translate into sales? I mean, that's pretty much the bottom line for any business.
Exactly the right analogy. And I'm not sure they do, Look, on the one hand, there's a psychological feeling of like, if I've invested so much time into something, then I must really like it. So like if you bothered to follow President Obama, you might be more likely to vote for him when the election comes around.
Another thing to note is also like, you don't want to underestimate the power of the retweet too. Because for me, like, I have a Twitter following.
That's a good point,
and, like,
yeah.
I have Democratic followers, and I also have Republican followers. So like, if I'm following Obama and I'm retweeting his stuff, that's getting exposed to like, my audience too. Mm-hmm. So, that's.
The one thing that I see both candidates not accomplishing is that the internet can afford such niche focused campaigns. It's interesting that they keep going for the broad campaign when there's huge opportunities to sort of isolate certain groups and message them directly. That's something that you can't do with mainstream.
So what would you guys do? I mean, you guys are in a lot of ways experts on this. If you were running a campaign, you're Romney or Obama, how do you reach the guys that you need to reach through social media?
I mean, on my part, I think, going off of what you said, I mean, new media marketing is really about, the niche markets. And so, I agree with them in a sense where, yeah, these politicians need to really target the niche markets and, kind of do the bottom-up effect of marketing. And I think in the long run, that's what's going to fare well. for them.
Yeah, you need to identify sort of how many key groups you need to get in one state, because every elections one a state at a time.
Yep,
and
definitely.
you do some analysis to see how much resources you need to dedicate in one state and.
If you wanted to, so you're absolutely right. It's the swing states that are going to decide the whole election. In fact, doing a national ad is honestly, and they know this, is a waste of money, right? So Obama's going to win California, and Romney's going to win Alabama, and we all know that, right? Yeah. So, but how do you find the independents? Is there a way on social media of finding independents in Missouri?
But I think that one of the things that Will of DC took issue with was an Obama ad playing before Mitt Romney. But like you were saying, like undecided voters are a huge percentage that you need to get your hands on. So if someone is interested enough to go see what Mitt Romney's stance is on something, putting an Obama ad in front of it might be genius, because they might say like, oh yeah, I should check out Obama's side on this as well. Like maybe they're not a Mitt Romney diehard fan, maybe they're just trying to be informed with their votes, and those are the people you want to get a hold of.
Right, I feel like there's a lot of decided people on the internet, because there's the people who are like, oh, I hate this and I love that, right? And they're all passionate. On the other hand, there's a ton of undecided people that don't know anything about politics that are, on Facebook, Twitter, etc. So it'll be really interesting to see if it has a big difference. And, on the other hand, of course, Ron Paul is the guy that is followed most online. And how'd that work out? So you got to keep it real. That sometimes doesn't work out great. So now you guys tell us what you think. What would you do if you were in charge of their campaigns? And do you think social media makes a difference? I understand that you leave the comments down below. If you want to try to leave them up top, go for it.